baseball lifestyle. It's my lifestyle.
Welcome back to the Ground Crew, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a minute.
A long minute.
It has been a long minute. It's been, you were on our podcast the first week in June?
I'm pretty sure.
Under the weather?
Yeah.
So it's been a while. But we're back. Had a great Omaha. Well, Dennis, it was your first time in Omaha. What did you think?
It was really hot.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that you remember about Omaha?
A lot of long days. Very hot.
I have a video of him on, like, the first day. And, like, I set up, like, one of those, like, hey, like, you're talking to the camera, how are you feeling things? And he's like, my feet hurt, and I'm tired. And then he just kind of stared off into space, and then he's like, hi, can I help you?
Yeah, that's about right for Omaha. Omaha for the kids is not fun for us, but it's fun for everybody else. And it had good energy this year.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, really good vibes.
Yeah, for Dietz, I think he has that as like that's what it is every year. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, it was half that ghost town the year before. So
last year was very bad vibes.
Bad vibes. Bad vibes.
But the store came out amazing. It was great to meet all the people, and everybody got some merch. And
shout out to Trevor Farnstrom, my new homie.
Yes.
I see you, buddy.
Yeah. The young legend.
So getting after it.
Let's do it. Before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe. Last week, I wanted to start off with this because it was just absolutely epic. Jesse Winker versus the entire Angels team.
You were fired up by that so much.
I loved it. It was like because I saw Amir Garrett like tweet about it after, which is why I put that out. Like he just went after the whole team, and then Rendon, who isn't just an injury risk, wanted to break his other hand, and everybody's just like throwing real punches, and then at the end, Raisel Iglesias throwing all the food at people, and like it was just chaos.
Love that.
It's just the best. And me and Dietz talked about the previous episode, like if people are getting hit so much and umps aren't doing anything about it, you just start fighting teams.
Facts.
Like what else do you really do?
We've talked about this in the past. My biggest problem with all sports fights is like no one's really invested. Mm-hmm. Because if everybody decided to be really invested, you could get off some really clean punches.
Yeah.
Because guys are like out here like backing away, doing all the things you're not supposed to do when you get into a fight.
Yep.
But like guys are like a little hesitant to do it. It's if you're gonna go that hard, do this. Go for the whole team.
Absolutely.
Because he came out relatively unscathed for trying to fight 40 dudes.
Yep.
Like might as well at this point. There's no fear. Somebody's gonna get my back. We're gonna be fine. Somebody's gonna disrupt this. Worst case, I'm walking out of here is I busted a hand or something because I don't know how to throw a punch, but I gotta land at least once.
Yep.
Be the first one.
Yep.
First strike.
And people still get injured, right? Like Archie Bradley was hopping over the fence.
Yep.
Now he's out for 6 weeks. His elbow's messed up. Like,
he broke his elbow, right?
I don't know about broke it.
No, I'm pretty sure he broke it falling over the.
Love that.
Oh, that's super brutal then.
Love that.
He's out for a minute. They threw suspensions at everybody and their mother,
including the interpreter,
which is so funny.
Love that.
Which I just love that he wanted to get into the action. I mean, you love to see it. So that was fun. While we're on the Angels for a second, I'm gonna skip ahead.
Ooh, love that.
Shohei Ohtani. He's back.
Oh yeah.
He's all the way back.
Oh yeah.
His last 3 starts, I don't think he's given up a run.
So I can give you what's going on last 7 games for him.
Okay, hit me.
So like, obviously for a pitcher, last 7 games is always going to be a little bit different. It's a longer period of time, but in his last 7 starts, he has a 2.59 ERA. In 41 innings, he has 55 strikeouts, a 1.06 WHIP. Like, so that's elite stuff.
Yep.
To go a longer timeline on that, you have to look at what he's been in his last 30 games as a hitter. And in his last 30 games as a hitter, he's got a 292 batting average, a 398 on-base percentage, and a 604 slugging percentage. All in for that, he's a little over 1,000 OPS. He's got 8 home runs in his last 30 games. So his home run numbers are actually a little bit down from what they've been. But overall, he is absolutely on a tear. Last 7 games, a 714 slugging percentage and a 533 on-base percentage for a nice 1250 OPS. Right now, it's being underreported that he's a god. Because we're so used to this is what all of last year was as a hitter. But he never had this much success as a hitter and pitcher same time last year.
Right.
Like, he is ungodly hitter, like MVP candidate, 1,000 OPS guy, and he's your team's best starting pitcher. Like, name a team in the league, there are a handful of guys who have pitched better than Ohtani this year. And that's what I'll throw to you two. Who has pitched better than him in the American League? Than a 2.5 ERA.
Justin Verlander.
Where's Justin at? Where's Justin the cheat at?
Very low.
Helps when you cheat.
I mean,
He's at a 2.22 ERA. I'm here with you that he's been better from an ERA standpoint. His last 7 games, 2.96 ERA, 45 innings pitched, 41 strikeouts. Nope. Last 7 games, he's been worse than Ohtani. So his last 7 starts, worse than Ohtani.
Alek Manoah, 205 on the season. 14 starts, 79 strikeouts, and 87 innings.
What's he in the last 7?
I'm trying to find that.
Go MLB.com. MLB.com has a good 7-day spread on stuff. Because that's for me,
he's
like...
been shoving, too, because his ERA is just plummeting. Manoah.
Yes.
He's killing it.
Last 7, 2.36 ERA. He's given up 12 runs in those 7 games, though. 40 strikeouts, though.
Again, I would
That's
say
what I'm saying.
I
That's
would
what I'm
say
saying.
Ohtani's been better. Like,
in the short term, Ohtani hasn't given up a run in 3 games.
absolutely.
He's striking out everyone and their mother.
And then to couple that with the fact that he's also your team's best hitter.
Yep.
Like the Mets, as good as we've talked about Pete Alonso, the Mets don't have a 1,000 OPS guy. Ohtani's 1,000 OPS.
Yep.
And he's sitting out here also top 5 pitcher in the league. Nuts.
Absolutely nuts. Where do you think they end up?
Oh, God. Around 500, I hope, for the remainder of the first half. Like they won last night, again, thanks to Ohtani being a savage.
Yeah.
Which helps improve their record to 37-41. The downside is that they're just not good enough to click over. And
Well, it hurts when your expensive third baseman is also just...
well, Rendon's done at this
none.
point in time. I would. He's a bag of sand.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even ever rely on him ever again.
Ever. Can't.
He's an albatross of a contract. You got to throw that out, baby with the bathwater. Like, he's gone. He's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Then looking at it, they're close enough that you got to start saying, okay, could they do some stuff? But they're not going to overtake the Astros, who look like they're rounding into form. They just beat up on the Mets and the Yankees.
Yep.
Like, rounding into form to be a really good team. So then you're looking at it and saying, okay, we can't win our division, so we're going to be a wild card team. And then you look at the AL East, and you would be the 5th best team. You only 2 games up on the Orioles, who have been hot lately.
Yep.
Hot. Yeah, I don't think they can be buyers, but I would hope that they get enough going that they buy a little bit.
I don't see that happening.
I don't either.
Yeah, it's so sad, truly.
But they have a lot of young pitching in the minor leagues.
Yep.
That if they went to a team like the A's and said, hey, we'll give you some young arms, give us your best pitcher, right? Maybe they can get more pitching. Maybe they can get somebody to replace Rendon. Maybe they contact the Mets and they take J.D. Davis. And like now they have a guy who's a round 800 OPS third baseman. At least get them something going on there.
Yeah.
That wouldn't take much, I wouldn't think. I think they could team build pretty well if they wanted to.
Sure.
And that's the thing is like, you have to go all in right now, don't you?
I mean, I don't know.
Noah's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
So Noah's gone next year anyway, so that money's off.
Yep.
So even if you got money that was a little bit this year and then was on next year, you could walk away from Noah and replace it, right? So you don't really stack on that.
Right.
You got Mike Trout making the most expensive contract in the league. You have Ohtani cheap for like 1 more year. So like with that being the case, I feel like you have to lean into this moment. It's the best financial situation you're going to be in for a season and a half until Ohtani's up. And if Ohtani asks for what we think he's going to get, which is the same contract as Trout, right? Like, how old's Ohtani? 27?
He is, yes.
So
He'll be 29 for free agency.
Right, but I think they're going to extend him. He's going to have to get extended when he's 28. He's not going to make it to free agency.
Okay, yeah.
Right, they're going to have to extend him next year. They're going to have to extend him if they're going to keep him. If you're not going to keep him, then he's going somewhere, and they're going to extend him while he's 28.
Yeah.
So he's getting an extension somewhere when he's 28, which means the extension starts at 29. So we're talking, let's call it that he's going to get a 7-year deal at $40 million a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
7-year deal, $40 million a year. You're talking $280 million. They have to do it now. Like, go all in now. If they don't, they're never trying to win.
Yeah.
This is the peak of who they'll ever be.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, it's fine. I would then dump. What's the point?
I mean, they definitely have to pay for Ohtani. Like, he's not going to take any type of discount. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he asked for more than 40.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'd pay him more than 40.
I mean, when there was some interview where like there was a discussion of like, is he going to ask for 50? And he was kind of like, I mean,
with the salary cap growing,
Yeah.
right, in the next couple of years by like $50 million, right? There's a lot more money supposed to be available. So if you're looking at, and that's why I think Aaron Judge and guys like that are looking at the deals and they're saying, you're trying to get me on today's money, and I need you to start paying me tomorrow's.
right.
We're right on the cusp of, because what's the MLB salary cap going up to? Because I think that there was like what's happening and what's coming up. Do we know what that is?
Like where it's like gonna extend up to?
Yeah.
Hold on, I think I have it here. It will increase to 263 by 2026.
263, and what is
Yeah.
it today?
It was 210 last season.
So it's going up $50 million. So when you look at that on 210, $53 million, you're talking that it's going up by roughly 25%. So you have to increase the top end of a contract by 25%. If he wants Trout's money that was signed back in the day, and Trout's making 40, and you're going to give him, that's $50 million. That's straight up a $50 million deal. That would be the same size contract as a guy like Trout. Yeah, $50 million, 7 years, $350 million.
And if he's giving you this kind of output, what are you gonna say? No.
For sure. At that point, if I'm him, that's me being generous. He probably is going to ask for 8 years. Why wouldn't you? Every big deal takes most guys into their late 30s.
Right.
I cut his deal at 7 just because I was like, that's age 36. But why would he do that? Pay me big money on the back end of that deal.
Yep.
Pay me when I suck.
Well, he also has the ability too to like, oh, I'm not really hitting that good anymore. I'm not really. I can go one or the other. Yeah.
This year I'm a pitcher.
Yep.
Next year I'm a hitter. Like, I'll occasionally take a bat here and there.
Yep.
Like, cool. The Angels got to do it, and if they don't lean into something soon, it's a shame.
Yeah.
Jeff Passan just tweeted, or an hour ago, I'm recording this, over the last 3 weeks, Shohei Ohtani has put up, and I'm getting a spam call. That just
Happens
I saw that.
It's about that time.
Put up 2.5 wins above replacement in the last 3 weeks. He's been the most. He's been the best pitcher in baseball and the 15th most productive offensive player. And Judge is still the MVP favorite.
What a beast. Yeah. No. It's. I feel like as much as Ohtani is doing great, like so much of baseball is gonna pull for Aaron Judge to win MVP, of the people who like vote and all that.
Oh, Judge is going to get a lot of votes, but he doesn't deserve it.
If Ohtani like stays on this, but I could also see a world where if Ohtani keeps like gets back on the incline of his offensive output and then keeps his pitching where it's at, that like you'll come down to the end of the season, everyone's gonna be like, well, Judge did have a really good season. He did bat .310 with 120 RBIs and 55 to 60 homers, but Shohei Ohtani hit 35 home runs and had a 2.1 ERA. So who's it going to be? I think it could be very tight.
I'm with you on the very tight situation. I think the problem that and here's the thing. Right now you're looking at Judge as a 3.7 WAR and Ohtani's at a 3.6.
For the season?
For the season. Right?
Yeah.
My biggest thing is Judge is going to get the benefit of the New York media cycle.
Right.
He's currently sitting at a 992 OPS.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Ohtani is currently sitting at an 862 OPS, but obviously we know he's borderline Cy Young. It's going to be tight, but I don't know how you don't give it to a guy who also pitches. It's such a weird dynamic.
Yeah.
Where it's impossible for you to tell me that Judge is possibly more valuable. Like, it's the league's most valuable player. There is no one more valuable to winning a game than Shohei Ohtani. There is no one. No one.
Yeah.
And Ohtani's not even right now in the as a starter for the All-Star game at any position.
From the votes?
Yeah.
I mean, the votes also had Fernando Tatis is like the fourth highest shortstop he has played a game.
Yeah, and he's not a shortstop anymore.
Yeah, they have Alvarez ahead of him as a DH, and I don't see anything for pitching.
I mean, Jordan
Francisco
is
Alvarez?
next year. Yeah. The end of this year.
Soon.
Very soon. I mean, he caught Scherzer last night in Binghamton.
That was intentionally done.
Oh, for sure.
They
sure.
wanted to do that to get a little spice, see how he does, how does he frame. Because next year he's going to be his catcher, so you know.
And Scherzer had some nice things to say. So I mean, Alvarez is just an absolute machine. Listen, it's Double-A, but he is doing.
He hit another home run last night.
I know, it's every day.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to shrug my shoulders, like it is what it is now. But we'll see. Scherzer is going to be back soon, which is good. DeGrom, 1 whole year later, will be back after the All-Star break.
Hyped.
So that's cool. The Mets just need to hold on. Are you worried about the Braves at all?
Of course.
Yeah.
How could I not be worried about the Braves? My biggest thing, though, is the Braves, like any Braves fan has to understand this, is that, like, Scherzer will be there for the whole back half.
Yeah.
And as the games become more competitive, he becomes a better pitcher. So, like, the bigger the moment, the more you get out of him. I also think that guy like Bassett, he very much so enjoys having Scherzer in the bullpen and pitches better when he can talk to Scherzer in between.
Yeah.
Like, Scherzer has been phenomenal at teaching the other pitchers on the team what they're fucking up and what they're not.
Yep.
More so than DeGrom ever did. Because I think DeGrom is so uniquely talented that he can't, like, deliver how to be better at the things.
Right.
Where Scherzer's like a baseball junkie.
Yep.
And, like, all he's done is, like, I've been about this forever. DeGrom was a shortstop for most of his life.
Right.
Right? Like, he's been
He's
learning
just
how
like,
to
just
pitch
throw
right.
100.
Yeah,
like.
Scherzer was that guy when he was 4.
Yep.
So he's been a stud. Yeah, I think I'm nervous about them because they have a great team. The only thing I'm not nervous about is I just heard, on the radio yesterday that the Mets are interested in upgrading every position.
Great.
So there's not a.
Yeah, I mean, also
if a guy comes up and somebody calls them and they go, would you like this guy to improve your lineup? And they look at it and they go, it would improve the lineup immensely, and the price is right. Not undersold, not overpaid. The price is right. They'll pull the trigger on anybody, which means you got an outfield that can help us, and we're no longer going to put McNeil and Canna in the outfield. McNeil's going permanently to second base, and Canna's going to the bench. Fine. I don't know if that guy exists.
Yeah, I don't know.
In the offseason, he does.
Well, in the offseason when Judge is available, yeah, but
Sure.
that's a horse of a different color.
Yes.
I want that chaos so bad.
I genuinely I think the catcher position is where they're going to go, because McCann they're having to play right now because of a salary situation, but he's borderline unplayable for the Mets because he's a fine MLB catcher, but he is not supposed to be an MLB catcher on a championship team.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a thing.
I'd say that's probably, like, offensively, one of their biggest holes for sure if they're trying to add another bat in a place. Because, like, in all reality, like, Canha's more than serviceable. McNeil,
Way more.
You know what I mean? So like our outfield overall, killing it.
Crush.
I'd say maybe third base was the only other like potential, like, hey, we could upgrade here kind of thing, especially with Escobar only being here for one more year next year.
Yeah, to me, the big bed
yes.
is catcher.
Yep.
They've been terrible at the catcher spot. And there's a guy like Wilson Contreras available for a single year. He would take roughly what we gave up for Javi Baez, probably, which is a solid, if not spectacular, prospect who's young and is low in the field.
Which I'm fine with.
Yeah,
I had no problem with that. Like,
I'm good as long as it's not any of the guys that we have Double-A up.
Yep.
Anybody who's below Double-A, fine. The bats that they have in Double-A are fantastic, and they have a couple bats at Triple-A that are fantastic. I would give up an arm like Skapuki, who didn't look fantastic, but is still only like a 24-year-old Triple-A guy with a 3 ERA in Triple-A. Like,
those 96 on the left side. Like, it's
let that guy come up, be on a bad team,
Yep.
see if you have a fourth or fifth starter for a rental, and then another guy who's high upside but maybe a little old. So the Mets have some 22-year-old guys in St. Lucie who you're very old for the level, and you're killing it, but are you ever going to be anything at a higher level? Probably not. But if you do, great. You guys take the wild card. Staying in the National League East.
Sure.
Mark Appel
Yes.
makes his debut age 30. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's honestly an amazing story. I mean, he's about to turn 31 like next week.
He's 30 though. He made it at 30.
But like that's wild. And he was like and we had talked about this a long time ago on a different podcast. Like, he was a first overall pick in 2013.
Yep.
And I understand like you want to get him ready for the big leagues and whatever, but if you're first overall 10 years ago, you can't you have to get that guy to the league quickly. Like, I don't know what is the first round for. Like, that's insane. And he quit baseball for 2 years.
Yep.
Like, he went through it, and God bless him. He pounded away and figured it out and got his way back to the show, and like that's amazing. But like also, our system's got problems.
Well, we've talked about that ad nauseum.
Yes.
Again, I think you look at a situation where we were just talking about the player, Francisco Alvarez. Why is he not in the show? Right? Like, you have a guy who's got a 950 OPS in Double-A.
You're like, what more does he actually need to do to be like, yes, he's big league ready?
You're telling me that he's not better than Patrick Mazeika? Like,
I don't think anybody's saying that.
well, but that's my thing. Mazeika's hit at the MLB level. He's come up with
Sort
some
of.
clutch moments.
Yeah.
Like, he's done all this amazing stuff at the MLB level. But should he be there? Like
on a championship caliber team, like for a substantial amount of time, no, not a chance. Like, what? Like the Yankees have their two catchers, right? And sure, they rotate and whatever, but like neither of them you would say are like bad.
Yep.
Mazika's, I look at him, I'm like, you're not really that good. Like you could be probably the everyday starter for the Reds or the Marlins, but like on this team, like you're a Band-Aid for most of the year. If you're coming up, like it's just because you're a vet and you can do some different things for us, and that's fine. But yes, at some point, I know that like the way the system of the minor leagues and how everything works is that they want to bring them up when they're ready and whatever, but my boy's ready. Like, I don't know what else he needs to really show. Like, I can't think of. I understand, like, from defensively, maybe.
Well, so Adley Rutschman was considered the best catching prospect in the minors.
Yep.
Right? The number 2 catching prospect in the minors was Francisco Alvarez.
Yep.
Adley Rutschman made his debut this year. He is 24. And he is in the show. Alvarez is 20. Last year.
That's wild.
Last year, Adley Rutschman was at Double-A. Right?
Yep.
And last year at Double-A, in the exact same league that Alvarez is in, he had a 900 OPS, did Adley Rutschman. So the exact same league, he had a 900 OPS. So my situation here is you have Alvarez with a 950 OPS, at AA level. Every other sign is there. Move faster. We know it works.
Yep.
Right? Like he should at least be at AAA. Right? But we got Patrick Mazeika there who's 28 and who's on the MLB 40-man roster. So, like, I get that there's a 40-man roster ad things. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Alvarez most likely isn't on the 40-man. Right? And the reason why he's not on the 40-man is he's at no risk of being selected in Rule 5, so there's no reason to put him on the 40-man yet, and you don't have an ability to take him down. But you could put Mazeika in Binghamton and put Alvarez in AAA in Syracuse and let him hit. Show me what's up. We would expect those arms are harder to hit against, and there's some reason to be there. And if he's killing it, what are we waiting for? September call-ups.
Yeah.
To do the thing at worst. But
from a draft, like the draft is coming too, right?
Yep.
Like from a draft perspective, and this kind of is for both of you. Like, what do you think the first round should be more pro, like MLB ready guys, like that are like within 2 years are like you're in the show, let's go?
I mean, Dennis, what's your take?
I mean, not necessarily, just because I also have the hockey background, and usually you have your first round picks, you have like the top 2 or 3 guys will make the NHL that year. Outside of that, they're going back to juniors, they're playing in Europe still, like they're developing for a little bit, because these guys are getting drafted at 18 years old. Usually they'll make their debuts by like 20 to 22, somewhere in there.
Sure.
So I think the development is important, but I also think it's more important that you reward the guys as they're looking good consistently, that they move up the ranks faster, even if you already have someone there. Like Bill was saying before, 20-year-old guy versus a 28-year-old guy. Like, let the 20-year-old get more opportunities. You already know what the 28-year-old is. Right,
and that's kind of my thought too. Is like I understand that like a lot of the you look at a first round pick is for some 18-year-old kid out of high school. That's like, wow, this kid could be the next Juan Soto. We want to get him now. But also look at that person and say, all right, if he's the next Juan Soto, like, what's his timeline and how do we actually achieve that, like, quickly?
And this is why I think that there should be a cap on a player drafted. If you're drafted out of high school, it's a 5-year max, right? We have you for 5 years. If you can't develop me in 5 years, don't draft me first round. Right? Like if you're, because I think that goes back to what we've talked about in the past and my thoughts on that. One, if I draft a player in the first round and they're not in the show by the time they're 22, they leave high school at 18, they're 22, and they have not made it, there's a couple other reasons. One, they were never good enough to be a first round pick.
Right.
We were projecting and our projections were wrong. They were capped in some areas. We had no idea. We risked it for the biscuit. Second thing, your development program and your whole system is shoddy, and you did a bad job of bringing them along. Third, they're blocked at the MLB level by a player who plays the same position, but is 2 years from being a free agent, so the team is just inherently keeping you down, because at 24 you'll replace that player, and you'll be great right out of the box for cheap, and we'll have you till you're 31 for cheap, and you're not a superstar, so we can keep you on the fringes like that. So no matter what the answer for that is, it's the team fucking up. And I hate that. And I think that I am fine with an 18-year-old going in the first round, but I think that they should have 5 years. If you're drafted out of high school, it's a 5-year deal. If you're drafted out of college and you are 21, it's a 3-year deal, because if I draft a kid 21, 22, if you're not up in 3 years, guys, I just played 3 years of college. Now I've just played 3 more years with you. I'm not in the league. You took me when I was 23-year-old senior.
Yep.
By the time I'm 26, if I'm not up, let me be free. Because the reality even then is, was that player, did you ever even think that player was making it up, or did you want a player who was advanced college guy who could come in and give you advanced college look for your superstar player to actually get good game like action?
Yeah, I mean, and listen, they get to the 25, 26 mark, their time window of even having a shot, if they're not in like AAA,
is ghosted.
Because this game is like, hey, if you're not 20 years old, like we don't have longevity for you, so it's not gonna work.
So now you make it that you take away guys like Appel, where, hey, he was drafted first round. A couple years done. Now, he got injuries. He got everything else.
Right, he's gone through it.
But that's part of the deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just because I got hurt doesn't mean you should keep me for more years.
Yep.
And it's the only sport that I know of. And Dennis, what's the deal with hockey? If I draft a player when he's 18 years old and he doesn't, like, come until he's 24, do I still own his rights? Does he go back to the pool?
It gets a little complicated with hockey just because European players have different rights and Canadian Hockey League players that have different rights than college guys. College guys, if they finish out their entire 4 years, they're free to sign with any team, even if they've been drafted to another one. Like, they can do whatever they want. Guys in the college hockey or Canadian Hockey League, usually they're signing 3-year entry-level contracts a year after they're drafted or so. They're under contract for 3 years, and they're a restricted free agent until their age 24, 25 season.
Gotcha.
That is the way to do it.
Yep.
Right? That's exactly what we're talking about.
Look at hockey go.
Look at hockey. But you know what? Like, the funniest thing is, when he was even talking about hockey before, I was thinking in my head, I feel like young players consistently get into the NHL.
Oh, for sure.
Because the salary cap's so low, you want as many entry-level guys that can provide a boost to your team because they're cheap.
Mm-hmm.
But then, if a guy is an old guy who's not very good, he's done. He doesn't get re-signed. They bring in the young guy who can play for him.
Right.
At the MLB level, I saw it the other day. Villar finally got cut.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And it's like, Jonathan Villar should not necessarily be playing in the MLB level anymore. And that's not an indictment on the man. But
it's an indictment on his output.
he was a negative .6 WAR this year, which means he was worse than a replacement level guy at the MLB level. But you sign him just because he is a jag. You get to delay bringing a guy up. I don't have to pay a guy. He doesn't vest into the bonus pool where I have to pay for his health insurance, and I got all this other stuff. There's so many manipulations of baseball players' careers.
Right.
But a guy like Jonathan Villar has not been a net positive player truly at scale for a number of years now. But a guy like Adley Rutschman is kept down until he's 24. 4 guys like Villar.
Mm-hmm.
And guys like Patrick Mezika, who's a 28-year-old AAA catcher who's had a couple cups of coffee at the MLB level. Right? Pitching to me is different.
Mm-hmm.
Pitching to me is different. If you have a guy who can throw every other day, every 5 days, and he's a 28-year-old AAA guy, but he can come up to the MLB level and throw a high 4 ERA and eat innings, there's a value there because guys get their arms blown out anyway.
Yep.
Right? So I look at that as different because there's only so many bullets. But hitters, man, these old dudes who barely hit, who get to stay in the league because they don't want to have to pay a young guy, is the worst.
Yep.
The worst.
Well, speaking of young guys that are getting brought up, let's talk about Oneil Cruz.
Oneil Cruz.
He is spectacular. At 6'7", shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Oneil Cruz.
Yeah, I
his
messed that
first.
up the other night.
What do you mean?
Well, we were talking about Orioles, and I'm like talking about shortstop.
Gotcha.
Oh my God, wait, he's Pittsburgh.
Yeah. But I mean,
Same.
don't get me wrong though. Baltimore has a actually pretty nasty.
But Oneil
shortstop.
Cruz is different.
Yeah, he's a freakazoid. His first game out, throwing 96 across the diamond. I don't know if you saw his home run from a couple nights ago. It was pretty much a line drive that didn't change height and just went over the fence. He's just a beast. My question is, can he stay at shortstop physically? And are people going to figure out how to pitch to him quickly?
I think they already have because his numbers suck.
Yeah.
His numbers don't suck.
They fucking suck.
All right, Dennis, what are the numbers?
So his numbers are better than Jonathan Villar, who we were just talking about.
All right, well, that's good.
And he's 23, so hit me with the knowledge.
And he's been in the game for like 5 days.
Hit me with the knowledge, Dennis.
Let's go.
36 at-bats. His batting average and on-base percentage are .222, and his OPS is .611.
So I have currently that he has 38 at-bats, a .211 batting average, and a .618 OPS.
Okay, so if Baseball Reference didn't update his numbers from
which
yesterday,
we talked about
we
that.
talked about that. But either way, it's not jumping up much from yesterday.
Yeah. last 7 games, this is calling out for him a high 600 OPS, almost 700 OPS in his last 7 games. His previous games, like when you look at his last 15, not as good. So he's trending up on both power and on base percentage. And then if you look at his speed and his all this other stuff, I don't think he stays short. I actually don't even think he stays in the infield.
Okay.
With all the speed that he has, I don't know why you wouldn't just pop him out in the outfield at some point in time. Now, maybe they got some older guys they got to trade and move on, and maybe they're going to give him the keys and see what he can do. But this reminds me also to some degree of a Gleyber Torres situation. Just because a guy played shortstop through his entire career doesn't mean you keep him there. When he gets to the show, it degrades his offensive ability and the other things that make him freaky. Oneil Cruz looks like he's got all of the pieces that you want to be a superstar player. I think the position, he's out of position.
I think so too. I could see a world where he kind of gets the Aaron Judge treatment, maybe, and maybe they ask him to bulk up a little and go play right field or center field, maybe. And
but you watch the exit velocity he's got when he hits. I think he's already 220 pounds.
I believe he is 220. Yeah.
He looks skinnier because he's 6'7".
Right.
But
that actually probably is better for his long-term health. So.
Yes. And he's 6'7", 220. I don't think he needs to get bigger.
Yeah.
Right? Like you look at Mookie Betts is 180 pounds.
Right.
Yeah, dude hits 30-plus home runs. Like, you don't need to have that if you're barreling up a ball hard.
Yeah.
And he can barrel it up hard. He already throws 97 miles an hour in the infield.
Yeah.
I have to believe that if he comes up on a ball, scoops it up, and throws a guy out at home plate from center field, everybody's going to ooh and ah. Like
Give
his
me
arms,
triple digits.
Yeah, hitting triple digits from the outfield. Like, you think Judge has a good arm. Imagine this kid. You think Judge has good mobility. Imagine this kid. He's faster, same height, better arm. Not nearly the hitter that Judge walked in being.
Right.
But he's got all the tools. So exciting to see young players like that get to the show and do some stuff. Again, that's the same thing for guys who started this year that we were talking about. Julio Rodriguez struggled. Bobby Witt Jr. struggled. But look at them lately.
Killing it.
If
Julio Rodriguez especially.
Well, again, if you look at just what guys do when they first start coming up, right? Bobby Witt, as a rookie at 22 years old, has a 243 batting average, 11 home runs, 12 stolen bases, and a 750 OPS, right? But if you unpack his whole season, he's doing way better than that. For the last 30 games, he's sitting closer to a 790 OPS. As a rookie shortstop third base guy. That's fantastic.
Yep.
Fantastic. And you know how much better he's going to get from this year to next year. Like, why was it ever that he wasn't up? He needed to get to this level to figure out, hey, what do I suck at? How do I get better at it? And then how do I become one of the best players in the league? Julio, 12 home runs, 272 batting average, 19 stolen bases, 787 OPS for the season. But again, as we know, last 30 games for him, he's sitting closer to a 840 OPS. That's an all-star.
Yep.
That's an all-star player for a center fielder who's 21 years old. Those two guys have been everything that you're looking for, but you had to deal with the fact that they were a 600 OPS for a month and change.
Yep.
They weren't
Can't just give up on
contributing to winning then, but they're contributing to winning now.
They sure are.
And that's what we talked about on a past episode, right? Like, why do you have a Jonathan Villar playing when you could just let a high-end young player struggle for 6 weeks instead?
Yep.
For the 2 games Villar helps you win by getting a big hit in a big moment that kid maybe doesn't come up clutch for you, you get to the back half of the season, that kid's a way better player. A way better player.
Yep.
But nobody wants to survive a kid's slump unless you're a bad team. You're like, well, it doesn't matter. Right? Kansas City Royals, like, it doesn't matter. Go ahead, Bobby. Now you're a stud.
Yep.
I wish teams like, again, the Mets, you got guys who are just doing meh at spots. Get rid of the meh guy. Put in a bad player. But the idea is they won't be bad in a bunch of weeks. And if you're lucky, they're Pete Alonso and they come right out of the gate smacking it. And if that happens, your team rides the wave of destiny and wins.
Yep.
So we shall see.
We shall see. Where do I want to go next? Dennis Dietz,
Yes.
what were your thoughts on the Freddie Freeman news
Oh
yesterday?
my God.
The tea was exquisite.
Yeah, so Freddie as a whole, like this whole thing has been interesting to see how it goes.
Dennis, unpack it for the people who might not have heard this whole
So
news.
Freddie comes back to Atlanta, gets a standing ovation, gets to talk for the crowd before the game, everything.
Yep.
Crying the whole time, gets his ring. Super
beautiful.
exciting. Everyone
Yes.
loved it. And then as the days went on, we started hearing more and more. Freddie was upset that he wasn't a Brave, started giving the vibes that the Dodgers, he didn't necessarily want to be there. He wanted to be a Brave the whole time. Clayton Kershaw comes out and says, like, all right, well, do you want to be here? Because if you don't, then get out type of thing. It sounds like the team's unhappy with him. And then it comes out yesterday that his agent didn't tell him about the offer that the Braves gave him, which I believe was somewhere around the ballpark of 5 years, $170 million, if I'm not mistaken. That's off the top of my head. I don't remember. I don't have the number in front of me, but it sounds right.
Yeah.
And then Freddie proceeds to fire his entire agency after finding this news out when he was in Atlanta. So heartbreaking for him because you could tell he desperately wants to be there, and I could totally see a situation in the offseason where you see a Matt Olson for Freddie Freeman swap between the Dodgers and the Braves.
So his final offer was south of 162.
Okay.
And I guess Freddie was willing to take that.
But the agent wouldn't have gotten as much money, so he didn't tell Freddie about it, knowing he
right?
took it.
That has to be the motivation, correct?
For the agent?
Yeah.
Yes.
Does that guy work with any players going forward?
No.
Not a chance. He already did you see his tweet today about it from the agent?
No.
That he's disputing the entire thing, that it's all BS, and that they're like looking to take legal action immediately.
Kind of have to at that point.
Against who?
Whoever tweeted that out. Hold on, I have the.
I'd have to assume that when Freddie came back to Atlanta, he had a conversation with someone high up and been like, yeah, we're surprised you didn't take this type of thing. And you can't really dispute that. It's the facts are coming out.
Right. It was like he probably met with the GM, like, hey, guys, how you doing? They were like, damn, bro, why don't you never hit us back? I can't find. It was like a reporter or something that like leaked the information, and then they're like, yeah, we're going to sue the shit out of you for that.
Well, again, so let's see how that whole thing plays out.
I'm very curious to what the actual truth.
Let's see
of the
how
matter
the
is.
truth of that and where that goes. However, I had dinner last night with someone who was an agent at Octagon at one point in time, and we had the conversation, and he said, if true, there's going to be a mass exodus of clients out of that agency, and they represent a lot of people, and a lot of big names. So his opinion was that is an egregious thing, but he wasn't sure if there was legal action that Freddie could take.
That's what we were talking about. Is that illegal?
So it's unethical.
Okay.
And from an ethics standpoint, if this person is a lawyer who's representing things, he might be disbarred. And if you're disbarred because you didn't represent in the full interest of your client's needs, you could be disbarred and you no longer could practice law in the capacity that you do. That doesn't necessarily take people out of being agents. There's other people who are really good at negotiation who are not the person who signs off on the legality of everything.
Sure.
But really, at that point in time, if you're good at something, you're good at something. That's how, Jay-Z owns his own agency. He's not an agent. You're using somebody else's ability to do those things. You're providing what you're good at.
Right.
But we were unaware of whether or not he did have legal recourse. I do think he has some, arrows in the quiver. If Freddie wants to fire those things off, I think he did what he wanted to do, which is, if that is the case, just cut those guys. But they're still going to make money. Now, here's the crazier thing about it, because we were running up some of the numbers on what this would be. What was the deal that Freddie was offered by the Braves? What is
it was
his
less than 162. So I think his current thing is 162. So
Yeah,
less
his
than
current
that.
deal is 6 years, 162. I'm trying to see what the
Great. So
There's
his
no
current
actual-
deal paid his agency over the lifetime of the deal, because you do it based off of when you get paid, not just necessarily a lump sum, right? The agency made $4.86 million to negotiate and sign that deal for him, right? But now my question is, what was the deal that he was offered by them? Let's say it was 140. The agency made $4.2 million. So it's only $600,000 less by doing that deal.
Right.
I have a hard time thinking that the story is entirely true.
I have the deal. It was a 5-year, $140 million counter offer. That was the last deal the Braves offered.
So that's my point. This agent sacrificed his integrity over $600,000, and he went from $4.2 million to $4.86 million paid out over the life of the contract. Seems fake, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. If it's true, it's the bonehead move of the century. I don't know what you're thinking.
The interesting thing about it, too, and also just looking at the agent and guys that he's represented, Clayton Kershaw's one, and he stayed a lifetime Dodger, and you really haven't heard too much about him having issues. And another one was Derek Jeter. And Derek Jeter was a lifetime Yankee, no issue with contracts ever with that. So I don't necessarily believe that out of nowhere he'd kind of tell Freddie not tell Freddie about the deal just because of $20 million at the end of the day.
Maybe his thought process there is he's trying to get him into a big market like LA, or obviously Jeter was already in New York.
Yeah.
Kershaw's already in
Yeah,
LA.
you got a guy to LA. You got a
Yep.
guy to a bigger market.
Yep, for more
if
money.
If you own a marketing, if you have a marketing arm to your team, which many of these people do,
Yeah.
you're now able to go and try to get local marketing in excess of what you're getting. Now, Atlanta is not a small market.
Yeah.
It's not New York. It's not LA, but it is not a small market. I have a hard time thinking again that the story is 100% true. But right now, based off of what we know superficially, it's a travesty. And it's one of the worst things I've ever heard about in sports.
Yeah, it's not good. I'm sure based on whatever they said today that like we're gonna be hearing about this for the next like week or so, because I'm sure it'll be on a day-to-day like this is what actually happened. Like here's all the documents. Like here you go, media.
Bill, you'd have more information on it than either of us, I'm sure. When they're offering contracts, does it have to all be in writing, or can it also be verbal? Because if it's
All in
verbal,
writing.
there's no way to prove it.
All in writing.
Okay.
All in writing. There's official offers that are presented. Now, if you're saying that did they put an official offer in front of the agent?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
That's a situation where no, they wouldn't necessarily. But then the agent is also now into a he said, she said moment, and you can't prove it.
Right.
Right? So the reality is that you'll get to the point of court of public opinion, and if players now believe that this team does not present all the information, like let's go back in time. Forget guys just trying to stay there. What if Derek Jeter had a deal for the Kansas City Royals for $40 million a year, and his agent didn't bring it to him because he didn't want him to not be a Yankee?
Are you asking would he be upset by that?
No, I'm saying like we're talking about the fact that guys stayed lifelong members of their
Right.
team. But what if Clayton Kershaw got offered $18 million more to go somewhere else, but he was never presented with it, so he stayed a Dodger? Maybe
Right.
he wouldn't be a lifelong Dodger.
Right.
Maybe there was a better deal out
Yeah,
there.
it's up to them to make
and
that
this
decision.
guy has
Yeah.
now manipulated multiple people to stay where he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Is he doing it because the GMs that he's working with are kicking him off money on the side? Like this could unpack itself into layers of like complexity that we're not even getting into in the general media, only here on the Grounds Crew podcast.
Yeah.
But like that's something that could have happened. Like this guy could have been manipulating markets this entire time and not giving information back to a client. And now, do I think sometimes that happens? I think more often than we'd like to think.
Just not high
$1
profile.
million here or there.
Yeah.
It's a verbal offer. It wasn't there. Hey, what do you want to do? Talks to the client. Client says, hey, there's the best offer on the table, and I always wanted to be there. And he goes, okay, cool. And doesn't tell him that he could have made $2 million more. Because did it really matter? No. But that's a slippery slope. of ethics. Was it ethical? Oh, yeah, he's going to be happier. It's a better team. It's a better circumstance. He's making more money. He won't have to uproot his family. Ultimately, he might take more money because he thinks it's what he has to do. But, I don't even want to give him that as an idea. You can slippery slope that all day. I'm going to manipulate where guys go because I'm the biggest agent. Imagine Scott Boras. We can say whatever we want about Scott Boras. You know what we know? Scott's taking the biggest deal on the board. His ethics are out there on the table.
Yep.
You hire me, you don't stay with your old team. You go with who's going to pay you the most money. The only time you're going to choose your old team is if your old team matches the best offer that's out there on the court. Best offer? Guess what? You guys got him too. Great. But you know who Boras is, and you might think that that's unethical. But he is not out here shifty. This is shifty. And leads me to think that there's a lot of terrorism going on in agencies out there in the world, which I hate.
It wouldn't shock me. I'm sure the negotiating tactics of them with that much money on the table has to be chess, not checkers, and sometimes it can be a little dicey. Other big news this week. Rob Manfred put out that he wants to have the automated strike zone by 2024.
Love it.
Love it.
Love it.
Dietz?
I'm contrarian. I don't love it. I like the
Hit me why.
I love human error, and I think it's good for the game to have human error because you get all these discussions online about how bad Angel Hernandez is, and I think at the end of the day, the way to grow the game is almost no bad publicity, still good publicity at the end of the day.
So to me, and this is why I love the automated strike zone, it makes it that we're no longer guessing greatness. Because how often, and here's something and I'll use it as the example. Trae Young weighs 107 pounds and is 5 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
So every time he goes into the paint to make a layup, a guy who is 7 feet tall, 280 pounds, breathes on him, he falls down. Foul. LeBron is 6'8", 260, and is a steamroller. He goes into the paint, and he gets hit by the guy who's 7 foot, 280. There's only a 20-pound difference, and that dude's a lot taller. LeBron gets no call. He just absorbs the body contact, makes the layup. He's not shooting foul shots.
Mm-hmm.
But the little guy is. Why? Well, it's because we think the little guy needs to be protected.
Right.
It's inherently how those things are called. So is Trae Young as good as he is, or does he take advantage of the fact that he's small to make it look like he's getting beat up? He takes advantage of the fact that he's got the worst hair in the NBA, and he goes in and his little gremlin ass gets touched and he falls down. 28 foul shots a game, whatever it is.
Yep.
At the MLB level, we have Angel Hernandez, and somebody the other day missed, I think it was somebody put up the stat, 27 bad calls.
Yes, I saw that.
27 in a single outing? I don't know who's good at baseball.
So
I am now on an umpire who is bad at what he's doing right now, is making good players look bad because he's allowing things that are out of the zone to be there.
Yep.
Hit me, Dennis.
So there are two different scorings. There's the one that we see online, which is done by whoever,
Yep.
and then there's one that the actual umpires association makes themselves.
Yep.
That have completely different statistics, and a lot of the times things that'll say they missed 20 something calls for an MLB game, the umpire one will tell them they only missed one or two. So
But that's the umpire one protecting the umpire.
But that's what I'm saying. We're never going to have better umpires because they're always protecting
But
them.
it's a big problem when if you're bad at your job, you get fired. If the majority of the people who watch baseball know that Angel Hernandez is a liability at umpiring a baseball game, and you could probably find a high school umpire that does a better job. Ouch. I mean, he's made some egregious. I don't know how you do that at that level.
Yeah.
I understand you've been here for a while and that's great, but I need you to get better if you're gonna stay here. Plain and simple. And there's also umpires in the game who get 99% of the calls right. And those guys are celebrated. That's amazing because that at that level, I mean, NFL, NBA, what would you say the majority of refs get a lot of the calls right? More, or there's not as much egregious failure?
I think more people don't understand how hard it is to ump the live action games versus baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I think the easiest job to do is to be an umpire in baseball out of all three.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because there is no guesstimation.
Mm-hmm.
There should not be guesstimation. There is a thing on the ground that tells you how wide it is.
Yep.
And then the ball has to pass over it between knee and letters. And yet, everyone's actual strike zone as an umpire is different. So there's no standardization of what it is. Well, hey, this is Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge knows the strike zone pretty well. I'm going to take myself out of this. I'm going to let a great player be great. Meanwhile, rookie comes up. This guy, I don't know this fucking kid. Tight strike zone, right? Like, this is a veteran pitcher. I know he knows where he's going. So the close calls go to the pitcher and not to the young hitter. So the young hitter struggles.
Yep.
An automated strike zone takes all of it out. And now it's not about a pitcher being deceptive and a catcher being deceptive of I can pull it in and make a guy call a strike.
Right.
No, now it's, did I actually deceive him and get him to swing on a pitch that was great? And it dropped out of the zone. They swing over the top. That's still a strike. There's still going to be foul tips that get caught. Umpires got to be there. There's still calls at the bases that a guy has to make sure he comes through with the right one. Yeah, it can go to the booth and it can get reviewed. But keeping yourself in live action and being able to get the right call is important, right? Those things matter. How an umpire controls the game in terms of guys getting thrown at, where things are going, how stuff is going, that all matters. But we don't know who is as good as they say they are because the strike zone is influenced by perception and not necessarily what actually happened.
Yep.
And that's like saying that I get to choose whether or not a ball went into the basket in basketball. He missed that one. No, guess what? It's the same size for everybody. It's in the same place for everybody.
And I do like the uniformity aspect. I think that is like there's on ESPN or MLB Network. There's a virtual strike zone, and they tell you we already have an automated strike zone capability. Obviously, it's been used in different levels, but virtually they could show you ball path where it went through, And then the umpire's like, this is actually the strike zone's gonna be more of an oval today.
Yeah,
it's gonna expand. It's gonna contract.
Mine's an oval. His is a sideways rectangle.
Yeah. His is Swiss cheese.
His is a rhombus. Everybody's in a different geometric shape. I'm here for the automated strike zone. I look forward to it being put in. I think it helps the entirety of the league, and I actually think it's going to help offense.
Here's a fun one. So this is the numbers that I was remembering. So April 25th, it was a game the Phillies lost 1-0. Angel Hernandez was given a grade of 96% by the MLB. The umpire scorecard online was giving him an 85.3, and he also called strike 3 on Gene Segura. The pitch missed by 6.47 inches.
It missed by my cell phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's big.
That's a big miss to call somebody out on.
Yep.
And that person is also seeing the same strike zone that you are. They think in the box. And the reason why they're at the MLB level is they know that box better than you. So we have guys who don't have as good of an eye for the strike zone being umpires against guys who are future Hall of Famers who know their strike zone incredibly. But also same thing, a guy who crowds the plate, right? And a pitcher decides to throw inside. When a guy crowds the plate, inherently when the umpire sees that pitch is a little close to him, calls it a ball.
Yep.
But that pitch might be hitting black. But because it looks close to him, the strike zone has been moved out a little bit, and he forces the pitcher to have to throw the ball more and more out over the plate. Well, now also, if the pitch is outside, he can see that it's not on the strike zone. So everybody now crowds the plate. It's why the Mets are getting hit so much, right? But it's why guys do that to take that away. If I can't just crowd the plate because the ball comes in and the sensor goes, strike, he's going to get mad, but you know what he's going to have to do? Get off the plate. And we're going to get to the point that who is actually good at it and who's been manipulating the rules at high levels. I hate the manipulation of the rule. It's the Trae Young effect. I hate you manipulating a rule to make yourself better at the game versus just being better at the game.
Yeah, that's fair.
So hit me with the automatic strike zone and hit me with the pitch timer.
See, I don't think that matters as much.
Oh, so if you go to the minor leagues, The pitch timer is making games move massively faster.
I know.
You're cutting half hour to 45 minutes off of 9-inning games.
What's the time they have?
I think 15 seconds.
Okay. That is actually substantial.
It's substantial,
Yeah.
but you know who it actually is for? The hitter, to get in the fucking box.
Yeah.
So that dude is the person delaying it. They're the one on timer.
That's what I was gonna say. Like most pitchers, like just in normal situation, will get there within 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So like, there's the occasional guy who takes forever, but like you know who that is.
But even the guy who's taking forever, pitch it faster. And now you don't get to. You're a little more rattled. You're a little more this, whatever. But hitters who every time, like Derek Jeter, a ball goes in, put 1 foot out.
Nomar was the one that did it the most.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I gotta adjust everything.
Every single thing, yeah.
Cup, butt cheeks. Okay, I'm back in. And then it was like, okay, now we're gonna throw. And like guys use it as a way to mess up the timing of the pitcher, and that's fine to some gamesmanship, but it's gotten overblown. Every single dude is like, my chain needs to be 7 centimeters off my heart to the. Fuck off. Get in the box and hit the ball.
Yep. And then other big news this week. Well, I guess 2 separate things. The MLB wants to expand to 32 teams in the next 4-ish years.
No.
No?
Answer is no.
Why?
The MLB cannot expand to 32 teams. And listen, players want 32 teams because that means more guys get to go up.
Sure.
The challenge and the reason I say no is that's only going to add 2 more teams who decide not to try to win.
Yeah.
And that's I can't deal with it. If they're going to add 2 more teams and they're going to get to 32, I need relegation. I need the bottom 8 to play in their own league. They go against each other, and there's a champion there, and every year the bottom 2 teams and the top 2 teams switch places. And you either get relegated or you get moved out of relegation. And it will force people to bring up their best players and play their best players. And guess what? Is a free agent going to want to sign with a relegated team? Nope. And if a player doesn't want to play with a relegated team, because guess what? You can only offer, right, this much money to a player.
Yep.
In relegation. Can't go and can't go crazy. We're playing with a salary cap inside relegation. You guys are stuck. If your team is already above the salary cap line, you can stay there. But your team can't spend above and beyond to bring anybody else in. And boop, boop. Go down to relegation. The MLB and baseball does not need more teams. There's too many bad baseball players playing in the game.
I think it depends on ownership. Vegas Golden Knights have been the highest spending team in the NHL, made it to the Stanley Cup Finals their first year. They've perennial been a favorite to beat the Stanley Cup.
It's not the new team, I think, that goes to relegation.
Oh, I'm not saying
It's
that. I'm saying
more of the old time. Yeah, but you're saying that team's been great. Who has now decided to start being shitty in the league?
I mean, teams have been shitty regardless.
No, but new teams have decided to go to a whole other level of disgusting, right? Like it's not that the new team comes in and you worry that they're not going to be good right away. That's not my concern. You bring in a new team, you open up that there's an expansion draft, and you open up that they can take players from a bunch of different teams. Each team has to expose 3 players, 4 players from their MLB roster. Right? And that team gets to come in and pick those guys off your team, and then they get to get the first overall pick in the upcoming draft. And here we go, and we line these people up, plus they get supplemental picks, all this other stuff. Great. That team could be good.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But it's going to mean another team on the cusp stops trying to be good. Because it's now further away. I am further away from contention, so why spend? This team just got Giancarlo Stanton to be its DH. It got Max Scherzer to come be one of its pitchers. Right? Your team's going to be good. Your team would be fine. It's that the Marlins or the Texas Rangers or somebody at the bottom goes, I'm just going to collect my check. Let those teams... Let the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers keep paying into this money, and I get the cash. Oh, and that's the other thing. If you have relegation, your team can't get any of the luxury tax money. Oh, come on. Light me on fire. Light me on fire. Tell me that all of a sudden the Athletics, nobody's showing up to the game. You're getting none of the luxury tax dollars. What are you going to do? You're going to sell the team.
Yep.
They would be forced to sell the team inside of 2 years. And now I have solved relegation.
Well, speaking of the A's selling the team or doing something with the team, the MLB said last week that there would be no relocation fee for the A's if they wanted to move to Vegas because the MLB wants a team in Las Vegas very badly.
Why would you put the Athletics in Vegas?
I don't know.
There's no world where we would let them relocate to that you let them relocate to Vegas without the stipulation that you have to spend $175 million a year. Minimum. That's not up to the salary cap, right? That's below the salary cap still.
Because I don't think it helps your fan situation. You know, like
you got a junk ass. Look what the Raiders have done since they moved to LA. More money
Vegas.
Spent.
Yeah.
Bringing in better players.
Gorgeous stadium, too.
Gorgeous stadium.
Gorgeous stadium.
Yep.
But they've leaned into being good. They've been trying.
And they've been trying in a division that they were given no shot at being good in.
Yeah.
They were mediocre for a bunch of seasons in a row, and everybody thought that was their cap. But they've gradually just added on, and they haven't overpaid people. They haven't done too much. They've sat in there and been like the thing I say all the time. Quarterback is the most overrated position in the NFL. It is the most overrated position in the NFL. There are a handful of guys who can take any team and make them win. A handful. And then there's a whole bunch of guys who need to have certain things in order to be successful. And the reality is that Derek Carr needs a bunch of things to be there for him to be successful. And he has them all now. He's got a good defense, solid offensive line, great running game, receivers who are there for him, tight end that's there for him, all play action things. Cool. He is more than enough to win at that level. But the Athletics, they will not spend. They'll go there, and nobody will show up, and it'll be a failure in Vegas. And that's why Vegas was never really considered. Everybody thought it'd be a failure. It'd be hard to... Nah, dude. I can't put a guy who's shown me he can't lead a team. I'd rather move another team who's interested in going somewhere. I'd rather move the Tampa Bay Rays to Vegas. The Rays have all this stuff about we don't have people showing up to games. We don't have this. We don't have that. Guess what? Cool. Move out of Tampa. Send Tampa to Vegas. The Vegas Rays. Cool. They already changed their name to Sun Rays. They're not the Devil Rays.
Yeah.
They're the Sun Rays. Cool. You think there's not sun in Vegas? Let's go. Bright lights. Done. That's who the Athletics are not allowed. They're a relegated team. If that happens, it shows me that nobody knows what they're doing in baseball, and they should just blow it up and start a new league.
I think it might
The Frontier
happen.
League, it's coming.
I think it might happen, honestly.
Relegation?
No.
That it gets blown up?
Nope.
Or that Oakland ends up there?
Oakland ends up in Vegas.
Bro, then again, it's
At some point, their stadium is like literally going to fall apart. Like the upper deck's going to fall off, and then they're going to be like, "Oh shoot, we need somewhere to go."
Yeah, cool. Put them in Sacramento. You guys get to be the Sacramento A's. Let's get it, boys. Put them somewhere worse. Like, what's the worst city in the country I could put them? And then also not give them any luxury tax money anymore.
Somewhere in Wyoming.
You guys are now the Wyoming Athletics, and you're relegated, so you get no money.
Yeah.
I feel like New Jersey would be a good spot for
No,
them, too.
stop. The Jets and the Giants play in Jersey.
Wow, great examples.
You know? He can't do that.
I don't know.
Shame.
It'll be definitely
A shame if it happens.
yes.
You know what else is a shame?
What's a shame, Bill?
Today's episode is going to be the last episode of the Grounds Crew podcast for an indeterminate amount of time. We are going to be taking an unknown hiatus due to everybody on the team growing into great positions. We started the Grounds Crew podcast with the idea that we wanted to provide an alternative thing, talking about the game, living a baseball lifestyle, and talking about the game of baseball. And the three of us came together and for the last year and a half have on a regular weekly basis shown up here and cursed and yelled and laughed and done dumb things and have funny stuff happen. And it is sad for it to happen, but it's going to need to. And, yeah.
Sometimes you have to hit the brakes a little bit before you can hit the gas.
Got to hit the brakes before you can hit the gas. Dennis, thoughts?
Yeah, man.
Nope.
Dennis doesn't want to talk because Dennis might cry.
Yeah.
Because this is not done with a light heart. This is done with a heavy heart.
Yes, very heavy. But I think we'll be back soon. Sooner than I think we all think. So when that day comes, I'll be very excited to sit back in this chair and hang out with you guys again.
For sure.
Yeah.
Maybe we even upgrade the chairs.
Maybe we even upgrade the chairs. Maybe Dennis won't be in a folding chair next year.
Shout out St. John's.
Shout out St. John's.
Well, everybody, we'll see you when we see you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Baseball lifestyle, it's my lifestyle.